Hi guys, Ellen Bacca here. So I am getting pretty excited about the upcoming meteor shower, the Perseids. It happens every year, so it's annual. We know when it's coming due to Earth's orbit. And with it coming up here in about 2 weekends, I wanted to do a Q&A because I looked up a whole bunch of stats and facts. So looking for some of your questions here. Feel free to type them and hopefully I'll see them. Sometimes there's just a slight delay. And in the meantime, I'm just going to share with you everything that I learned about the Perseid meteor shower. So again, annual means it happens every year. This year, the peak is going to be August 11th through 13th. Technically, the Perseid meteor shower lasts for a much longer time frame than that. So it's usually between July 17th through August 24th. But like a lot of things, we see that peak at certain times. So the peak is August 11th through 13th, and that's great because that's a weekend. So hopefully, if the weather cooperates, we're going to be able to see some beautiful, beautiful meteors. We're expecting about 60 to 70 per hour. So that's according to scientists that study this sort of thing. Meteor rates change every year, and this year it's looking like 60 to 70 per hour, which is still a pretty decent amount. So I have a picture up right now. This is actually from the meteor shower, the Perseids that we saw, I think 2 years ago. We went out to St. John's, set up a little fire, and then doused the fire in those peak hours, which is like 2 a.m. through 4 a.m. Before it gets light out. It's like nice and pitch black so that you have the best visibility of seeing some of those slice across the sky. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, I think, is just what is a meteor and what are all these terms. So I got this from the American Meteor Society, which is a pretty cool site. If ever you see a meteor and you're not sure whether anyone else has seen it or not, you can actually log on to the American Meteor Society and you can submit that you saw a report, where and when, and you can also check to see where else people have been submitting reports, which is fantastic. Where should I look at, says Mitchell, to the north. So we're going to be talking about that. But August 11th through 13th, you kind of want to turn to the north to see those meteors, or at least have the best chance. Meteor terminology. So a comet, not a meteor, is a small body made of ice and dust, and it leaves a tail of gas and ice as it travels, and that's why it looks like it has that nice blazing tail, is because it's leaving that dust behind. An asteroid is the biggest guy. That's why it's the biggest on our graphic here. It's larger than about 10 meters, roughly. A meteoroid is a small, tiny rock body, and I say tiny compared to space, but it just means it's less than 10 meters or about 30 feet. And then a meteor is the light emitted from a meteoroid as it enters the atmosphere. So that's what we see, that bright light. That's the meteor shower that we're going to be seeing. Meteor showers happen at certain times during the year. We have some that are a little wimpier and some that are a little better. Typically, the Perseids are pretty darn good. And then a fireball meteor is actually a scientific term. We're not just saying it in the media to get your attention. It's actually called a fireball meteor. And this happens when light is emitted from the fireball and it's brighter than the planet Venus, which is pretty cool. I've seen one of those before when I was driving. It was spectacular. Bolide, that's a large meteor that explodes as it hits the atmosphere. I've seen one of those too. And then a meteorite is the actual tiny little fragments of space rock that makes it through the atmosphere and hits the ground. I think it was just last year that we had a meteorite recovered over on the east side of Michigan, which is pretty cool. It was black, probably because it was charred. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
How you doing? Oh, no, you're good. What's for dinner?
I got a little bit of soup right here.
Soup. Gail, his wife, packs him dinner, and it always smells phenomenal. And Gail, if you're watching, you should pack double because I will eat it. So those are the terms. That's to help you kind of break it down and see what's going down. So we're looking for meteors, and if we're lucky, maybe one or two of those little bits of stone will actually make it to the surface and someone can collect it. Again, fireball meteor just means that it's brighter than the planet Venus. So where should you look? You should look towards the Perseus constellation. So if we look at the constellations here, Perseus almost looks like a guy holding out something, like he chopped off its head. That's because it's supposed to look like this dude. This is Perseus. He's a Greek hero, and he was kind of prior to Hercules. He used to kill bad guys and monsters, and apparently he looked like that. So that's why the Perseus meteor shower is called Perseid because it comes from the Perseus, sorry, I keep trying to say it weird, constellation. And for us, that's going to be kind of in the northeast. So after dark, we're talking after 10 and even 11 because you still kind of have that glow. We're talking more midnight to about 4 a.m. You want to turn your attention to the north because it's going to look like the meteors are radiating from the Perseus constellation specifically. You can technically see them all over the sky. When we did this 2 years ago out at St. John's, sometimes you would catch one kind of zooming over in a different direction. But in general, that's what we're expecting. So the constellation again is going to be kind of close to Cassiopeia. You can download the Andromeda galaxy is out there. I don't know if you'd be able to see it, but Capella is sometimes really bright nearby. And you can always download an app. I think it's called Google Sky. I can double check and put it in the comments later. But you hold it up and it will actually show you what constellations you're looking at. So if you have that handy with you, as you're trying to set things up, you can kind of orient yourself to the northeast and then just double check with your phone to make sure you're looking in that direction. So one of the other questions that I've been getting is how long will it take for my eyes to accumulate or acclimate, not accumulate, acclimate to the light? Um, that is usually about 10 minutes, but it's best after 20 minutes. So here's a cool graph that I found that shows how your light or how your eyes acclimate to that change in light. So you start to see a pretty good acceptance of the dark with your rods and your cones at about 10 minutes, but it really increases once you get to about 20 minutes. So set up shop, get away from bright lights, get away from the city, grab your bug spray. Make sure that you're not doing a lot of things with bright lights, like playing with your phone. If you have this screen on the entire time you're waiting, your eyes aren't going to be able to adjust. So make sure you're really taking in the moment, soaking it in, and waiting to see if you can find some of those meteors zipping on by. They're fast. They disappear pretty quickly, so you really have to be on your guard. But again, 60 to 70 per hour is what we're anticipating in terms of visibility. In 2016, we had as many as 200 per hour. And the whole reason why we're seeing these meteors and the whole reason why we have a meteor shower this time of year is because we're passing through the debris of Comet Swift-Tuttle. So this happens every year that we pass through the debris of that comet. Remember, the comet gives out all of this ice and dust and gas behind it. So the Earth every year goes through that, but sometimes the comet makes a return and it gives us extra debris. So that last happened in 2016. That last happened in 1992, and then it'll happen again in 2126. So I'll be dead by then. But 2016 was a big year for us. That's when we had 200 per year. In terms of temperatures, if you're planning on camping out, usual overnight low is about 62 degrees. Usual overnight cloud cover is, I would say, partly cloudy. We usually lose some of that convective activity that happens this time of year. Summer is usually graced with quieter weather patterns here, not always, but it's a little less active than the spring and fall. So a lot of times, even if you have some of those summertime storms which bubble up, like we've been seeing lately, once we get to nighttime and we lose that sunshine, those kind of die down and we even lose some of the cloud debris. So hoping for a decent amount of visibility. Again, this is 2 weekends away. Overnight low is usually 62, daytime high is usually 81. Our record, so the hottest it's ever been around that time, the coldest it's ever been is right around 96, and the overnight lows in the 40s. So that's what you need to plan for if you're planning on heading out. I loved it. It's a great time to get away. Again, it's on the weekend, so you can make a camping trip out of it. You can check out our dark park if you want to drive all the way up to the north, or just, again, get away from some of those city lights for the best visibility. But this is one of many meteor showers that take place during the year. This is one of the warmest times of year that we see a meteor shower, so it's nice to take advantage of this one. Are there any state parks that will open for this? Ooh, that's one thing that I did not look up. I know the Dark Sky Park will definitely, and we have one of those in Michigan. As far as Sleeping Bear Dunes and Ludington State Park and some of the other state parks, I think if you have a campsite, you're good to go. And I know that you can camp in different backwoods areas. Sometimes you need a permit, sometimes you don't. So if you Google that, usually that information is pretty readily available. I think the key thing is just getting away from those city lights. All night or certain time frames, says Steve Brown. Technically all night. Technically, we've been able to see these meteors from July 17th through August 24th during the nighttime hours. But the best time frame is going to be when it's darkest out. So that's again going to be probably from about midnight to maybe 4 a.m. because our sunrise is right around 6 a.m. or so. That's when we start to see that civil twilight. Oh, extra news, something that's really great. Our moon is going to cooperate with us this year. So our moon is going to be a little tiny crescent, and it's going to set early in the evening. So I looked it up, and on average, the moon is going to set around 9 p.m. So that means we don't have all of that light. I don't want to say pollution, but kind of like light pollution from the moon. That won't be a thing really this year. So the moon will be below the horizon. What you see of the moon, even before the meteor shower starts, will be just a small sliver. So that'll add to the visibility for us. It'll make it easier for us to spot some of those subtle meteors that we see. And then also just watch for Mars. Mars is going to be super bright. So Mars right now is undergoing its closest pass since 2003. And remember when it passed close to Earth in 2003, that was the closest pass to Earth that Mars had done in like 60,000 years. So if you've been driving lately and you see that really, really phenomenally bright star in the horizon, more likely than not, you're noticing Mars. And Mars is going to be pretty bright for the meteor shower too. So that'll be a pretty neat thing to spot. So all in all, as long as the weather cooperates for us, we should have really good visibility and a really great evening to enjoy ourselves and enjoy science and nature and everything that this world has to offer us. Hopefully some friendships, some s'mores, maybe a campfire if you're lucky. So that's what's going on. Just kind of wanted to break down everything for you. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it easy. I know you guys have a lot to do. It's Monday after all. We still have a whole week to get through. But post some questions for me here on Facebook Live. I'll get to them throughout the week. Usually after I post this video, people watch it more, and I'll do my best. If someone offers you a Kool-Aid during this event, don't drink it. Good advice, Joe. We'll leave you guys with that. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful night.